In 1989, the Berlin Wall came down. The divided city is now a united one. Berlin, the old and new capital in the center of Europe. The old traffic structures have been re-established. The 3 million inhabitants are growing closer to each other. Not only the inhabitants, but also visitors to Berlin go in search of the different facets of this metropolis. In Berlin's smallest district, Kreuzberg, in the center of Berlin, it is clear that there is a clash of contrasts. Students, Turks, and the Berliners with Schnauz, loudmouthed, live here. A waterfall like this can only be found in the mountains and in Berlin's Victoria Park. On top of this hill is a national monument by Schinkel in remembrance of the War of Liberation 1813 to 1815. The name of the hill comes from the 20-meter high cross which stands here and later gave its name to the whole district. The hill used to be called Round Vineyard. Since the 16th century, grapes have been cultivated on its slopes. In 1740, wine production was stopped. It was only in the 70s that the tradition was restored, and since then this vineyard has become Germany's northernmost vineyard. It now produces 1,000 litres of wine per year. The grapes are pressed and bottled on a wine-growing estate in Hessen. These rare drops of wine are hard to obtain. They are reserved as gifts for chosen guests of the city. Typical of Berlin are its courtyards and its colourful atmosphere. They are hard to find these days. However, one of the most beautiful is the Riemer's Hofgarten in Yorkstrasse. Walking through this area, reminiscent of German industrial expansion, one is transported back to the Belle Epoque. Even modern architecture does not disturb the overall sense of harmony. Walking through impressive cemeteries in Mehringdamm is also an exciting journey of discovery into the past. Here they lie in their ornate graves, the writers of history or those who made history. Famous architects, genius inventors, and numerous artists. We come into contact with art also in the Neue National Gallery, next to the Philharmonic Hall and its chamber music room. Its steel glass construction was designed by Mies van der Rohe. The basement holds works from the 19th and 20th centuries. On the ground floor, you can look at works of modern art. Outside, there are the 4 squares in a square by George Rickey. The concrete Cadillacs designed by action painting artist Wolf Fostella triggered off a sense of confusion. In the meantime, they have been accepted and still stand on Platz with traffic surging around them. Art in public areas facing the church Gedächtniskirche, a sculpture for all to see, directly in front of the Europa Center, a work by Karl Pepper. The interior architecture is impressive. The shopping center with plants and playful fountains has numerous restaurants, pubs with live music, cabaret, a hotel, and around 100 shops and 1.8 kilometers of window displays on 3 shopping levels. Round the clock, all types of services are on offer. Around this sculpture and Europa Center, there is a true international atmosphere. The Berliners call the sculpture disrespectfully Waterklanger. Whether as leisure activity in the city center or meeting point for tourists, the Kaiser Wilhelm Gedächtniskirche always attracts people. The church, built in honor of William I and officially opened by William II in 1895, was bombed in 1943. Seen as a symbol of Berlin, it has a modern church next to it as a replacement. The Café Kranzler is also world famous. a definite must for anyone strolling down the Kudamm. Kurfürstendamm is a street named after the electoral prince Joachim II, who in the 16th century had it built to go to his hunting lodge in Grunewald. Otto von Bismarck, the first Prussian ambassador in Paris, wanted to model the Knüppeldamm on the Champs-Élysées and create a grand boulevard. He fought for 10 years before this area was finally developed. In 1882, the Kurfürstendamm Company was founded. Kudamm is now known internationally. The lights on Kudamm in the evening are particularly alluring. Berlin was already known for its lively nightlife in the 20s. Favorites were basement bars and places like Café Bauer unter den Linden and spacious beer gardens. These days there is not so much space, even in the street cafes. It is rare to see true Berliners on the Kudamm. They prefer to stay in their favorite pubs. Nightlife on the Kudamm carries on into the early hours and offers something for everyone. There is not only a disco scene with Big Eden or Far Out. Fashion has also won international recognition in Berlin. The new heart of Berlin lies in Potsdamer Platz. 40 years after the end of the war, no man's land between East and West, this area is representative of the glorious past. A city of the future has been designed. It stretches over an area of 68,000 square meters. For 1.5 billion marks, Sony has built up a small media center with office block, film center, and an enormous sheltered forum. The whole complex was designed by the Italian architect Renzo Piano. High-rise buildings are not typical for Berlin, and here they are intertwined with a relaxing oasis with Mediterranean flair. This is Potsdamer Platz, an entertainment park with a casino, music theatre, restaurants, hotels, and a multiplex cinema. In the arcades, there are 100 shops divided on 3 shopping levels. This is the marketplace of the new city centre. The Berlin Zoo is in the west section of the city. The East Berlin Tierpark Zoo is at the Schlosspark Friedrichsfelde. There are many superlatives to describe the Berlin Zoo. It was the first zoo in Germany, opening in 1844, and is seen as one of the most modern and important zoos in the world. What was at first just an animal show became a zoo par excellence. There are 14,000 animals from 2,000 different species. The zoo receives a large number of visitors as it has a great advantage. It lies right in the center of the city. A station with the same name is a through station heading for Warsaw and Moscow. It is also the terminal for many visitors to Berlin. The S-Bahn, overground trains, offers a 1 train a minute service. These trains connect the suburbs to the center of town. Like the U-Bahn, underground, they play a major role in alleviating traffic congestion. These types of images are rare as the metropolis is alive and vibrant. This is the case in front of the Zoopalast Cinema as well as Wittenbergplatz. Wittenbergplatz underground station is an architectural masterpiece. It is Berlin's first underground station and now a listed building. This important traffic intersection point is just in front of the KaDeWe store. KaDeWe is the biggest department store on the continent. Named Department Store of the West, it dates back further than the Cold War. In those days, it was more the town hall of Schöneberg which made history. Built 1912 to 1914, it holds a symbolic bell of freedom. Why the bear has become a heraldic animal will always remain a mystery. It first appeared in 1218 on the seal used by the Guild of Furriers. Since then, it has not been removed from its pedestal. The Berliners' extraordinary love for animals dates back to 1950, when an animal cemetery was built in Lankwitz. Whether it is a canary, tortoise, hamster, cat, or dog, this is where Berliners' loved ones can find rest. After this slight detour in the south of the city, let us head westwards. Here, at the Hohenzollern-Damm, we see again an example of contrast. Next to the station dating from Kaiser days, there is a steel concrete glass building. A little further away, there is a radio tower dating from the 1920s. Berliners call it Lange Lulatsch, meaning beanpole. Covering this area is the Trade Exhibition Center and the International Congress Center. At the entrance, you see sculptures by Jean Epostegui, Echbatana, Man Builds His City. The title is fitting. This great, modern complex is really like a city within a city, 800,000 cubic meters with a length of 320 meters. This modern technological building has its price tag. Total building costs around 1 billion Deutschmarks. Northwest of the Congress Center, at the northern edge of the Grunewald, is the Olympic Stadium, with its 76,000 seats. The arena was built by Werner March in 1936 for the 11th Olympic Games. Today, it is Germany's biggest stadium. Home to Hertha BSC, the fans go crazy when a goal is scored. It is not only sports events which are celebrated here. The memorial details the highs and lows of this stadium. Waldbühne is a music venue where bands such as the Rolling Stones have played. Grunewald simply means green woods. A popular place to visit in this nature reserve is the Grunewald Turm. It was donated in honor of the 100th birthday of William I in 1897. At Europe's largest inland beach, the Wannsee Bathing Resort offers its guests 500 wicker beach chairs and 1,800 deck chairs. On hot summer days, 30,000 people can be seen having fun here.
Der Wannsee, auf dem wir uns befinden, ist ein Teil der Havel.
It is possible to reach nearly all the Havel River Islands by pleasure boat. Even the idyllic Pfaueninsel, or Peacock Island. The alchemist Johann Kunkel produced valuable ruby glass here before Friedrich Wilhelm II gave this island away to his lover. In 1794, her summer residences were built in the style of a romantic ruin. Later, landscape artist Lenné built an English park with intertwining paths for Friedrich Wilhelm III. Exotic animals inhabited its private zoo. Fontaine always saw the Peacock Island as a mysterious isle. A few minutes further up the Havel, there is the captivating Glienicke Park. It was also designed by Lenné as a leisure garden. He takes you by surprise with the new views and different styles he created. This classical style is prominent in Schinkel's renovated castle with the Lion fountains. The harmony of architecture and landscape have turned this park into a work of art of high European standard. The Glienicke Brücke, an old border crossing, was where Russians and Americans used to exchange their spies. Passing by the Babelsberg Castle, which was also designed by Schinkel, we move on to the small branch of the river. Trips on the lakes and canals, the Havel and the Spree, can last many hours. This is a view of the quiet and idyllic side of Berlin. As the boats return to the jetty, you are left with the memory of architect Schinkel's buildings. One of his works was the pavilion in the Schlosspark Charlottenburg. Construction of Schloss Charlottenburg was started by Johann Mehring in 1695 and called Lietzenburg. It was commissioned by Sophie Charlotte, wife of the Elector Friedrich III. After her death, the name of the palace was changed to Charlottenburg. A Baroque masterpiece stands in the main courtyard. In 1698, Andreas Schlüter designed the monument to the great Elector. His son Friedrich had his residences decorated by Iosander von Goethe after being crowned as Germany's first king. His successors, Friedrich the Great and Friedrich Wilhelm II, commissioned the master builders Knobelsdorff and Langhans to build new extensions. Behind the palace there is an enormous park through which you can stroll. Opposite the palace is the Egyptian Museum. Its showpiece is the bust of Nefertiti. The beauty of the painted limestone makes a visit well worthwhile. The collection shows the development of ancient Egyptian art from 5000 AC to 300 BC. These world-famous exhibits are not in the Egyptian Museum, but on the shelves of the plaster cast workshops run by the administrative arm of the State Museum for Prussian Property. Here, around 12,000 molds of reliefs and sculptures are stored. Castings in plaster cast, bronze, synthetic resin and other materials can be made here. The mold is usually taken directly from the original. When a Michelangelo work is produced, the buyer does not get a fake, but a replica of the original. Ornamental plasterers carry out the work. Whilst this form is being prepared and the plaster cast sets, Princess Louisa and Frederick of Prussia are given their last polish. Finally, the plaster cast is gently pulled away from the mold and polished. An authentic decoration of the work makes it look so real that only specialists can differentiate between the original and the cast. Works of art destroyed long ago would have been lost forever if these castings had not been in existence. This is how the plaster cast workshops have grown in importance. A monument great and noble. No equivalent throughout the land, and no other people possesses such a memorial. This was part of the speech for the unveiling of the Siegessäule on Battle of Sedan Day. First erected in front of the Reichstag, it was moved in 1939 to dominate the Großen Stern roundabout. Its gold Victoria statue still depicts the glorious reign of Wilhelm II. Just nearby, deposits of verdigris have already appeared on Bismarck, founder of the German Reich, dressed in a cuirassier uniform. The old Congress Hall north of Tiergarten is also a part of history. Symbol of German-American relations, the pregnant oyster was built in 1957 with the help of American funding. In front of the pool is a sculpture by Henry Moore, the butterfly. Behind the cultural centre, Haus der Kultur der Welt, boats begin their tour of the city centre travelling on the river Spree. Approximately 1/3 of Berlin is made up of green spaces, woodlands and waterways. Berlin is a city with over 1,000 bridges, even more than Venice. An idyllic boat ride throughout the centre of the city. Where else can you enjoy such a trip? Berlin gives you that opportunity. What used to be called Spreeauenwald, today's Tiergarten, was used by Friedrich II as a location for the building of a palace. He had it built in 1785 for his brother Ferdinand and named it Bellevue, after the beautiful view. Today, it is the official residence of the German president. You get a great view of the new chancellery from the river Spree. On the bend of the Spree, between Palace Bellevue and the Parliament, you see the new government buildings. Both the politicians and inhabitants of Tiergarten can appreciate the advantages of this area. The centre of town and the green area are right at their front door. The landscape architect Lenné designed this large park. The devastating damage of the Second World War is no longer visible. In summertime, Tiergarten is the most relaxing place. It is an oasis at the heart of a pulsating metropolis. The name of the street, Charlottenburger Chaussee, was changed in 1953 to Straße des 17. Juni, 17th of June Street. On Saturdays and Sundays, there's a flea market with antiques and crafts. This flea market is situated between the Technical University and the Siegessäule. It is a very colourful, confusing ragbag hiding a few gems. All tastes are covered here. Historical works, valuable objects, comical objects, and of course, lots of bric-a-brac. This market attracts tourists and Berliners alike. The choice on offer can tempt you into a spending spree or wear you out during your search. To the east of the Tiergarten is the Reichstag, designed by Paul Vallot. From 1894 to 1933, it housed the Parliament. It was scornfully described by Kaiser Wilhelm II as a monkey's house. The burning of the Reichstag and the Second World War left it in ruins. After the renovation by Sir Norman Foster, costing 600 million Deutschmarks, it has now become the seat of the German Parliament once again. The building has a glass dome, which is 40 metres wide and 23 metres high and can be visited all year round. The original dome was twice as high. Nearby stands the most famous of the 14 city gates, 100 years older than the Reichstag, the Brandenburg Gate. It attracts constant interest from foreign visitors as the symbol of division and unity. The four-horse chariot was destroyed in the war. Thanks to the plaster cast workshops, it has been recast. Now rebuilt on its original location, Hotel Adlon, a place full of tradition on Potsdamer Platz. The history of Adlon began in 1907. Within 3 years, it developed into one of the most beautiful and luxurious hotels in the world. The east side of the Brandenburg Gate is the start of the Avenue unter den Linden. This magnificent boulevard is alive again. No other street in Berlin has been so marked by history. 300 years ago, the great Elector rode along here. Friedrich II had it built to give prestige to the magnificent buildings. It became the main axis of the city. An immense 14-meter statue of Frederick the Great stands once again in solitary splendor before the German State Library. The German State Library is for students and others an almost inexhaustible treasure trove. It holds over 5 million books, incunabulum, many autographs, and valuable musical scores, for example, Beethoven's Ninth Symphony. The neo-Baroque building was built between 1903 and 1914. Let us move on to the Gendarmenmarkt. Before the devastation of World War II, it was the most beautiful square in Berlin. After the restoration, it has earned this title again without a doubt. Both churches, the French cathedral and the German cathedral, were built at the beginning of the 18th century. The Schauspielhaus, previously called Nationaltheater, was destroyed in a fire and then later rebuilt by Schinkel. It has been perfectly restored since 1984 as a magnificent concert hall. There have been spectacular productions of Friedrich Schiller's dramas staged by Leopold Jesner as well as Gustav Gründgens. On this square with its harmonious collection of buildings, you can still feel that sense of flair and elegance which makes this city so distinctive. In the French cathedral, there is a small Huguenot museum and the Tower Room, where there are wonderful views and tempting wines. Let us go back to Unter den Linden. Take a break in one of the many street cafes. See and be seen. Impressions of a boulevard. This is the most perfect place to gather the most varied experiences. A goat brings pleasure to the young, and Meissen porcelain delights the adults. If desired, one can travel a short distance by rickshaw, perhaps to Galerie Lafayette in Friedrichstrasse. The street has been fundamentally transformed since reunification. Here in the center of the historical city, a new pedestrian mile has been created. The attractive presentation of fashion and Jean Nouvel's atmospheric architecture is a definite must. The Galerie Lafayette and its neighbor Friedrichstadt Arcade are linked together by underground pedestrian precincts. World-famous designers offer haute couture for ladies and something elegant for the men. If crowds are in front of the Neue Wacht, action will soon start. The changing of the guards is announced in true Prussian fashion. Schinkel's great work used to be the station for the Royal Guard and later a memorial to the victims of fascism and militarism. Now, this goose-stepping parade is part of the past. In the Neue Wacht, the eternal flame has gone out. In its place is a sculpture by Käthe Kollwitz, mother with her dead son. It is regarded as Germany's main memorial, dedicated to the victims of war and tyranny. The East German Army Guards finishing duty march off in the direction from which their replacements came, the Zeughaus. This is the oldest building in Unter den Linden and one of the most significant Baroque constructions in northern Germany. Building was started in 1619 by Johann Niering. In the following centuries, it was used as an arsenal for collections of trophies, weapons, and for a hall of fame. Then, in the 50s, a museum for German history was established. Now it is called the German Historical Museum. The majority of street cafes lie near the Schlossbrücke, Castle Bridge. For example, the Zeughaus Café, or opposite the Opera Café. After a visit to the cafe, it's off to the opera for the evening. In 1743, Frederick the Great drove with his coach and 6 horses along the former dirt track to the opening of the German State Opera. 2 years earlier, the king commissioned his architect Knobelsdorff to erect a prestigious building. As the first theatre, it was separate from the palace. 100 years later, the opera burnt down and was rebuilt by Langhans. It was totally destroyed again in the last war. On the 4th of September 1955, this successful renovation was celebrated with Wagner's Meistersänger. The house offers a very diverse program. The interior is designed on 3 levels. Both modern and, of course, classical productions are performed here. Next to the opera is the Berlin Palace. It used to be the Crown Prince's Palace. Together with the Zeughaus, it represents the end of the historical mile. The Schlossbrücke leads towards Alexanderplatz. Alongside Alexanderplatz is Karl-Liebknecht-Straße. 2 different architectural worlds collide at this point. On the left is the cathedral, on the right, the Palast der Republik. The Hohenzollernpalast stood on this square from 1443. This is the oldest plan of the city and shows how Berlin looked in 1650. The 2 towns of Berlin and Köln were united in 1307 and were later divided again, then reunited in 1709. There are still remains of the city wall to be seen from the 13th century. The ornate palace, however, was destroyed. The seat of the GDR Parliament was built in its place and was supposed to be as impressive as the Palace of the Republic. The East German citizens, however, were not that impressed. They christened it Honecker's Lamp Shop. Today, all doors are shut and the lights switched off forever because of the danger of asbestos. The town planners have not yet decided whether the palace should be reconstructed or a new building put in its place. On the night of the German Reunification celebrations on Karl-Engelsplatz, the palace appeared like a backdrop. Southeast of Alexanderplatz is the former GDR Council of State with the balcony where Karl Liebknecht called for a free republic in 1918. Today, this is the seat of the German Chancellor. On the other side of the River Spree is the new Foreign Office building. This time, the dome managed to survive. The terrible damages of the last war have been removed. The impressive Wilhelminian construction in Italian High Renaissance style has the same impact as it did when it was built at the turn of the 1900s. North of the cathedral, between the 2 branches of the River Spree, there is a collection of museums on the so-called Museum-Insel. The Altes Museum, a classical masterpiece. It was the first museum Schinkel built for Prussia. It holds the copperplate cabinet and a collection of sketches. At the entrance, there is the biggest sculptured granite dish. The building behind the museum used to look like this. The National Gallery resembles a Corinthian temple. It is high up on a plinth and has a spacious flight of stairs. Built between 1866 and 1876, it was planned to be a banqueting hall. Then it was set up as a museum for contemporary art. Today it holds many paintings and sculptures from the end of the 1700s to the 1900s. Also exceptional are the nude studies. The bronze equestrian statue of King Friedrich Wilhelm IV is by Alexander Calandrelli. The Alte Nationalgalerie, as well as the other buildings on the Museumsinsel, need regular restoration work. Not only have the effects of war left their mark, even the Spree water gnaws away at the old walls. The rattling S-Bahn trains going by constantly shake the foundations. The Pergamon Museum forms the center of the Museumsinsel. The main attraction is the reconstruction of the old altar of Pergamon. This Hellenistic masterpiece dates back to between 180 and 160 BC. It was a present to Zeus and Athena, goddess of Pergamon. More than 100 larger-than-life pictures depict dramatic scenes of fights between the gods and the giants. The 120-meter-long section is regarded as the longest preserved frieze from Greek antiquity. It covers the foundations of the altar and is only separated by the stairs. At the edge of the Museumsinsel is the neo-Baroque building, the Bode Museum. It was called Kaiser Friedrich Museum when opened in 1904 and in 1956 was renamed. This was in honor of its founder, Wilhelm von Bode, who, as director, had for many years made a great contribution to the Berlin museums. The building holds a sculpture collection, a gallery of paintings, an early Christian Byzantine collection, a cabinet of coins, and the Egyptian collection. There are members of the pharaoh's families, from King Echnaton to Queen Nefertiti. Nearly all the historical buildings were just a landscape of ruins after the last war. Many disappeared forever. The alleys in the heart of Old Berlin were also devastated. In the Nikolaiviertel, the oldest sacred building in the city, the Nikolaikirche, constructed around 1220, was rebuilt. The whole area, with its numerous alleys, was lovingly restored, paying close attention to detail. The facades, low gables, bays, and wrought iron pub signs have been put into their historical context. The rest of the authentic buildings were completed with pre-finished parts. A dreamy small town in the center of the metropolis. In Waisenstraße, near to the city courts, there is a building which has remained intact since 1621. The oldest Berlin pub with the witty name Zur letzten Instanz, the final case, gave strength to those who were exhausted by their trial. Today, VIPs and tourists come here. If the good, solid cooking does not appeal, then there is another good address in the Märkischen Ufer. The former Bürgerhaus of the tobacco producers Ermler used to be in the Breite Straße, one of the most magnificent streets of old Berlin. It was dismantled and put in its original form here. This Baroque building with Rococo interior offers in various rooms high-class delights in an enjoyable atmosphere. Heinrich Ziller would not have stopped here to pursue his study of the milieu. He caricatured simple life in cheap pubs and dark courtyards. A monument to him stands to one side. Not the case with this monumental sculpture. The Neptunbrunnen is in Spandauer Straße, between Marienkirche and the town hall. The sea god is surrounded by his royal household, 4 women who symbolize the Rhine, Elbe, Oder, and Weichsel rivers. In 1888, Kaiser Wilhelm II donated the fountain to the city, which was made by Reinhold Begas and finished in 1891. Originally, the Neptunbrunnen stood in front of the palace and was first moved in 1969. The Berliner Rathaus, called the Red Town Hall because of the red brick, is reminiscent of an Italian Renaissance palace. It was built by Wesemann between 1861 and 1870 on the same spot where the town hall had stood in the Middle Ages. Around the building, on the first floor, frieze depicts the story of Berlin. The Gothic Marienkirche, directly opposite, is one of the oldest buildings in the city. Numerous visitors from east and west liven up the wide area around Alexanderplatz. Farmers from the nearby countryside sell their produce at the weekly markets. This square has had its name since Tsar Alexander came to visit Berlin in 1905. From far away you can see the former livestock market and parade ground. The 365-meter high Fernsehturm television tower is like a signpost. The elegant glass station at Alexanderplatz was personally inaugurated by Kaiser Wilhelm I in 1882. The occasion was very important. It was the first time that the S-Bahn trains ran on rails, and the progressive Berliners were proud of what was at that time the fastest public transport in the world. The first underground and elevated railway came 20 years later. Today, there is a network linking up all the main districts with trains running at regular intervals. Alexanderplatz continues on from the east of the station. When you first look at the Alex, as it is called, it almost looks too big. The enormous square only slowly starts filling up with people. This lively, bustling activity in the market brings colour to the Alex. There is also a world clock. The Saar's name helps increase the turnover made by the catering trade. This is especially the case with the currywurst, curry sausage. Their triumphal march around the world started from Berlin. Its cradle was, however, in the western side of the city, Stuttgarterplatz. Hertha Heuwer created in 1948 the first currywurst in the world. International friends of currywurst prefer, however, to meet up in Prenzlauer Berg. In the middle of the roaring traffic stands Waltraud Ziervogel's snack bar. She took over the grill Konopka some years ago and continued running it in the old tradition. Her currywurst have the best reputation. They are made by hand and delicately spiced. Despite competition from kebabs and hamburgers, the Berlin currywurst is as successful as ever. Let us go back to Prenzlauer Berg in the center of town. Next to the station Friedrichstraße is the theatre am Schiffbauerdamm. This is where the premiere of Brecht's Threepenny Opera was staged in 1928. From 1954 onwards, this theatre was home to the Berliner Ensemble, which Brecht and Helene Weigel founded. Brechthaus on Chausseestraße is directly next to Dorotheen City Cemetery. This is where the two top people of German theatre are laid to rest. There are also a few other important names here. The big hall of the Friedrichstadtpalast on Friedrichstraße holds 2,000 people and is packed every night.
Wie die steile Treppe in einen finsteren Keller hinuntersteigen.
Und sich 1000 kleine Spinnweben um ihr Gesicht legen.
The Weidendammerbrücke, crossing the Spree, is not far from here. Under the wings of the Prussian eagle, Theodor Fontaine got engaged to Emilie Guanet. The old and the new in Berlin stand side by side. The town has many faces. Next to the modern architecture, there are many buildings from the Baroque, Classical, and Wilhelminian period. The Museum for Naturkunde, Natural History, is in Invalidenstraße and has remained intact since 1889. It is part of the Humboldt University and one of the leading natural history museums in the world. The zoological collection holds 20 million exhibits. The main attractions are the oldest, best-known Archaeopteryx bird, of which there are still 5 stone examples, and the 23-meter-long, 12-meter-high original skeleton of a gigantic dinosaur. The majority of skeletons on display come from Eastern Africa. This item, however, is not on view. It is the skeleton from a dog museum in Berlin-Blankenburg. There are 20,000 exhibits in 7 rooms. The biggest and the smallest dog. 4 legs made of porcelain or out of soap. Old pictures of dogs, pedigrees, medals, and books on dogs. The exhibition's glass cabinets are breaking at the seams, as you will see. A notification of the draft board's decision for a sausage dog. A section for toy dogs, of course, cannot be excluded. As well as the secret tip for the dog museum in the northeast of Berlin, there is another sight to see on the other side of the city. The world-famous Schloss Sanssouci in Potsdam. In its heyday, just like us, visitors from all over the world used to sit on Frederick the Great's terrace. Sanssouci, the Francophile Prussian king, wanted to live here without any worries and in peace. Frederick II sketched out the plans for his dream palace himself, and the master builder von Knobelsdorff made the plans reality between 1745 and 1747. Sanssouci lies in a large park stretching 280 acres, based on the French tradition and leading to 6 terraces designed in Rococo style. The gardens offer many sumptuous views onto marble statues, the new palace with a grotto room and a marble gallery, an orangery, a Chinese tea house, the dragon house, the antique temple, the Roman baths and other buildings, which were in tune with the times. On invitation by the monarch, the French philosopher Voltaire whiled away his time here for 3 years, going for long walks in the park, inspired by lengthy discussions and flute concerts. When Frederick the Great, a gout sufferer, died on the 17th of August 1786, he'd never have thought that 200 years on, Berlin would have its second renaissance.